Hello and welcome to the 12th induction of the Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame. My name is Alan Toomley, class of 1974. I currently serve as the treasurer and general chairman, and myself and Sean will be guiding you through this afternoon. I'd like to take a moment to recognize some guests that are with us today. The mayor of the city of Fitchburg, Sam Squalia, is with us. I'm not sure where she is, but she's here. There she is. Sam, thank you. Our superintendent, if he isn't here, he should be here any moment, John Thompson. Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Grounds, Jeremy Roach. Retired Superintendent for Finance, Mr. Craig Shalafo. Current Hall of Fame members, those who are in attendance, could you please stand? Any current Hall of Fame members, including my committee, please stand. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'd like to recognize and thank my committee members. This is a huge event. It doesn't just happen overnight. I couldn't do it without the help of my committee. Sean Sweeney, class of 1996. He's the committee secretary and the Fitchburg High School historian. Todd Robbins, our new athletic director, Leominster High School graduate, we won't hold it against him, class of 2003. Harold Mateo, class of 2000, football, track, inducted into our 10th class as a member of the 1999-2000 boys indoor track team. Kama Tuzignat, class of 1992, inducted into our 2nd class as a member of the 1989 cross-country team. Mr. Peter Stevens, class of 1958, football, basketball, baseball, inducted into our 9th induction class. Deb Dion, class of 1972, basketball and softball. Deb was inducted into our 1st class. Cindy Donlin, class of 1987, indoor track, outdoor track, inducted into our 5th class. Paul Agnese, class of 1997, football and track. Mr. Matt Lamy, class of 2004, football and basketball. And Mr. Craig Antossi, class of 1999, Wachusett Regional High School, football and basketball. I'd like to thank my secretary, Yvette Cordio, for all the hard work she did helping us get ready for this. Yvette, where are you? Over in the corner. Thank you, Yvette. Much appreciated. I want to thank Cedric Robinson and his student assistant, Gabriella Leota, our official photographers for today's event. You will find a flyer in your program. It'll provide you with a link and a QR code to view the photos from today's event. Cedric, thank you. Gabriella, thank you. Also a big thank you to Mr. Nate Glennie, Executive Director of FATV, and Travis Falk, the Operations Director at FATV. FATV is recording today's induction for rebroadcast. You can find them at fatv.org, and Travis is on camera today. Thank you, Travis. On your tables, you find a program for this afternoon's event. The presentation that we will make for the induction is a synopsis of that information in the program. We encourage you to please read the program, some great writing in there by Sean Sweeney. So we strongly encourage you to read that at your leisure. Enjoy the dinner, and we'll be back to you shortly. I'd like to take this opportunity, please, to thank Lori Ruggiero and her staff here at Great Wolf for once again going above and beyond and taking care of us today for dinner. Great job, everybody. With remarks from the athletic department, I'd like to introduce the director of the athletics for the Fitchburg Public School Systems, Todd Robbins.
Good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for coming today and supporting, obviously, Fitchburg High School Athletics and the Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Always tremendous when we can get together and celebrate the rich history of this athletic department. Folks have asked me, what's it like to be the director of athletics at Fitchburg High School? And I said, Fitchburg High School is unlike any other high school that you will ever be the director of athletics of. You walk into your office every day, and there's a portrait on the wall of the person 100 years ago who had the job for the very first time. You don't get that everywhere else. So that just reminds me every single day of the history that we are the caretakers of each and every time we go out to participate in our athletic competitions. I want to start by thanking all of the great folks here, the dedicated volunteers of the Fitchburg High School Hall of Fame Committee. Your efforts to preserve our red and gray history and acknowledge greatness reminds us of the importance in the phrase, respecting the past while representing the future. Thank you all very much. To our tremendous administrative team and our alumni, thank you all for your unwavering support of red and gray athletics. To our inductees, thank you all for blazing the path forward that our student athletes today follow in your footsteps each and every day. As is evidenced by those student athletes in attendance today, the red and gray is poised for success today and long into the future. From our recently rededicated historic Crocker Field, which is now once again the state-of-the-art envy of North Central Massachusetts, our passion each and every day is on display at Crocker Field. The passion of my Student Athlete Advisory Council, who's in attendance today, you unite all of that together, and we have what we need to build on the foundation that each and every one of you have laid forward for us decade after decade. Ever the educator, I feel it's my responsibility every time I get up to a podium to teach. So to my student athletes in the back, class is now in session. As I prepared for today and learned myself about each and every one of our inductees and their myriad of accomplishments, I tried to identify what's the through line that ties all of our inductees today together. And the answer is simple. Their path to greatness was forged in a belief in themselves and their teammates. A belief that while better players and better teams may exist, they were not going to beat the red and gray on that day, on that field, on that court, on that track, in that pool, or on that sheet of ice. Because the red and gray will always be prepared, will always outwork, and will always overcome every single obstacle that's in front of us. As I said to you all last spring, wearing the red and gray means accepting the mantle of this history and giving everything you have for yourself, your teammates, and your community. The numbers that were worn on those uniforms were worn by many people that are here in attendance today. And we are very lucky to have them. So before you leave today, thank them, honor them every day with your efforts when you wear the red and gray. To our inductees, 3 cheers for the red and gray, and a heartfelt thank you for your greatness and the example you've set for all of us to follow each and every day. All hail to the red and gray.
Thank you, Todd. With the able assistance of my good friend Sean.
Hi, Alan.
How are you?
I'm surviving. How are you?
Penn and Teller, here we go again.
Uh-huh.
Although which one's not, I'm definitely the one not speaking because I won't get a word in edgewise.
That's
Here we
fair.
go, folks.
It's totally fair.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to offer for induction into the 12th class of Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. Harold Hecker. Class of 1939.
The Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony has been known to cause many an emotion in those who come to the dais. It can be overwhelming to be the center of attention, and for some, they thrive on it. There are emotions of gratitude and tears of remembrance as they think about the ones who guided them in their journey toward the second floor, some of whom are no longer with them physically, but with them spiritually. Keep that in mind as you listen to me ramble. For those who know their history, they'll know that the Fitchburg High boys tennis program quickly came of age in the early 1930s, but it had to take a slight siesta in the middle of the decade. The December 1934 fire had our students attending B.F. Brown in the afternoon session, the usual post-school day playing period, and then to make matters worse, the 1936 flood made the tennis courts over at historic Crocker Field unplayable. After all, water and clay don't mix. Except in ceramics, right, Sarah? The program returned in 1938, and by that time, our 12th class inductee, Harold Hecker, of the class of 1939 was a junior, and he quickly showed grit and determination with every passing day. In Harold's second ever interscholastic match, he knocked off Leominster's Rob Rahor in 3 sets. But key to the win was his toughness to save one particular point as he charged toward the baseline and crashed into the fence. Crocker Field's tennis courts were tightly packed way back when, and what he did on that glorious May afternoon to save a point is what Hall of Famers do in Fitchburg. Harold ended up going 7-0 in his first season of interscholastic singles tennis, but so too was the 1938 FHS tennis team, an undefeated championship season as the Raiders downed Keene, Lawrence Academy twice, Orange High, Leominster High twice, and Nashua in succession. It was more the same for Harold and the Raider tennis players in 1939, nearly duplicating its perfection from the previous spring. FHS went 8-1, dropping only one dual meet to Orange. In fact, Harold pulled double duty, winning his singles match, having a drink, and then going to play doubles tennis. In all, Harold's numbers in tennis were simply legendary. He never lost a singles match in his 2 years, winning all 16 matches contested. His 23 overall wins between singles and doubles play was good for 5th overall at the time of his graduation. He registered 6 6-love victories, as well as 14 6-1 wins in his far too brief interscholastic career. In addition, he had 9 singles wins in 1939 to tie for most wins in a season, and his 16 combined wins in 1939 tied the record set 5 years prior. The story of Harold Hecker, though, turned tragic. Like many young Fitchburg men of the time period, Harold enlisted in the armed services in August 1942 and bounced across the country for his Army Air Forces training before being stationed in the European Theater of Operations. By September 10, 1943, as first engineer and upper turret gunner on a B-17, Harold had taken part in 17 bombing missions against the enemy. Less than a month later, Harold Hecker, age 22, lost his life in service to his country as part of a bombing mission over northwestern Poland on October the 9th. His B-17 was damaged by enemy fire. The plane fell into the North Sea west of Denmark. His body was recovered and identified, but his remains were not returned to Fitchburg and his family until the winter of 1949, during the senior year of his baby brother and fellow Red Raider tennis great, Irving Hecker.
Accepting for the Hecker family, our girls' head tennis coach, Kelly O'Connor, presenting committee member Pete Stevens. Thank you both. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you for induction to the Hall of Fame, Mr. Larry Bizzotto, class of 1974.
For a good stretch of our history, the legends of the gridiron had the ability to learn about the game at B.F. Brown and Memorial Junior High Schools. Starting in the 7th grade, the Rebels and Panthers would lock horns for the next 3 seasons, culminating in their promotion to Academy Street and historic Crocker Field. Today, we honor one of the greats whose football career spawned from the corner of Academy and Elm Streets, taking him all the way to Bourbon Street, the French Quarter, and the Louisiana Superdome. Larry Bizzotto, from the class of 1974, came to FHS through B.F. Brown, where he played 3 years of football under Coach Ron Mazzaferro, learning stance, positions, and the jobs these young Red Raiders needed to do to help Fitchburg High continue its resurgence. Mazzaferro told us earlier this year that he and his staff were fortunate to have Larry as a member of the team. Maz said, and I quote, "He was tough, determined, disciplined, respectful, and coachable, and he'll always be one of my favorite young men that I have coached." Legendary FHS Hall of Fame football coach Marco Landon threw Larry right into the fire in the fall of 1971, playing him as a two-way tackle as he protected quarterback Bob Watton on offense. In the annual Columbus Day weekend game against Gardner, Larry's defense was the story. As he chased, blitzed, hounded, pursued, and harassed the Wildcats all day long, forcing the Gardner quarterback to toss 5 Raider interceptions. In 1972, however, Larry went to Coach Landon and asked him if he could just play defense. Marco was all for it, and Larry's strong defensive work was part and parcel of FHS's big season that culminated in a trip to the very first Super Bowl game of Fitchburg High victory. After off-season surgery, Larry came back refreshed, and he got a lot of ink in the paper of record as a senior, with his work against both Holy Name and Leominster noticed by the sports writers of the day. His work was certainly noticed by the opposing quarterbacks, as Larry led the red and gray in both sacks and tackles. For his efforts in Fitchburg Red, he received Division I offers from both Boston College and Tulane University, eventually picking Tulane following his visit to New Orleans and the under-construction Louisiana Superdome. He graduated with a degree in business and now gets to work from his home base down in Brewster on Cape Cod. If he's not on the beaches, he can be found on a golf course, in the gym racking the weights, just clanging and banging, or holding court at his monthly meetings with his old teammates at Legends over on Airport Road. Football continued for Larry through his son, Anthony, and I will hear no dissent, who was a gallant adversary of ours over at Leominster. We remember Anthony as being a hard-nosed, legendary Blue Devil who definitely got his toughness from his old man, a legendary Red Raider.
Presenting to Larry, Todd Robbins.
Sean, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sean talked about, I would say, some of the technical pieces of the way we played football and what we did as teammates, and a lot of skills, a lot of practice, and all that stuff that you all know about. I'm going to go a little different direction in how football and the coaches in this school and the red and gray shaped my life and maybe who I am today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the selection committee for this recognition. It is an incredible honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame of FHS. It's also very humbling to be considered alongside such an outstanding group of people whose contributions have made FHS such a formidable educational institution and the utmost tradition. Now I'll get along better. I am generally grateful. The honor isn't just about my journey. It represents the dedication and teamwork of everyone I played with, those who stood by my side, and I'm grateful for the challenges and opportunities that led to this moment. I'm hopeful that my story might inspire others to chase their dreams with the same commitment and passion that I did. To my family, friends, and teammates, and mentors, you have supported and encouraged me along the way. Thank you. Your belief in me has been the foundation of my growth and accomplishments. I did not earn this recognition alone. I had the privilege of being a part of some great teams, most notable, as Sean said, the 1972 championship team. We won the D1 Super Bowl that year. And looking back, we had a lot of great players, but we also had the traits of a great team. The traits of FHS, the way we were brought up. We were coached to trust each other, to have mutual respect, to have intestinal fortitude, as some of my coaches would say, and camaraderie. We began as a team of individuals who became a team of best friends, working together towards a common goal. We were all on the same page. Most importantly, we had strong leadership. We learned from exceptional coaches, Coach Landon, Coach Crank, who taught us the value of hard work, the basics of integrity, and the power of resiliency. I owe a great deal of my success to them. Coach Landon and Coach Crank are the two that I always remember. Coach Landon was a father figure. His quiet but intense demeanor set our direction to ensure we stayed focused and making each game our best game, keeping us from becoming complacent to always persevere, leave it all on the field. Coach Landon walked the talk of being a champion on and off the field, and he coached us to do the same thing. Coach Crank, my position coach, was a big man from Texas. He had the drawl, and I remember him very well. Most of my football days over the years were spent with him. His anecdotes were priceless, and I'll share one in a minute. Both Coach Landon and Coach Crank played a very significant part in my young life. They were those great men who made me who I am today. Yes, we won a lot of games, including the Super Bowl, but over the decades, I've come to realize it's not so much about the game we played on the field as it is about the life lessons we learned that they taught us beyond the field. And that keeps coming back to the school, to our traditions at Fitchburg High School. Perseverance, working together, being resilient, holding up our tradition. I'll finish with this Coach Crank anecdote. Coach would get real serious. He'd get us all gathered around. He'd get a frown on his face and a gleam in his eye. We'd be staring at him, waiting for the message. He'd say, "Boys, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps." He would go on to explain, "You can't let down. You can never give up. You fight till the end. You have perseverance in the face of adversity." This is how I live my life. When I looked up the bootstrap phase, it is simply defined as improve your situation by your own efforts. In less words, work hard, take care of your family / your teammates, do what is right, and attend to your obligations and responsibilities. Coach taught us, as it is in football, it is in life. And he was right. It's a truth that stands the test of time. Thank you once again for this incredible honor. I am deeply humbled, and I look forward to continuing to contribute to our shared legacy. Go Raiders! Thank you. Hey, take these things off for this.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Secretary,
Yes?
I offer to you for induction into the Hall of Fame, Karen Lamarine, class of 1987.
I've been waiting for this one. In the spring of 1982, the Fitchburg High softball team came of age, securing their first ever trip to the postseason. As a result, the faithful wanted to see the success continue. At that time, Sally League and Lassie League softball programs had just started, and there weren't many write-ups in the old Fitchburg Sentinel about youth softball. But in those pages, they found the future in the form of a young lady who struck out the boys with such regularity that she fanned 17 in one 6-inning Little League game. Her name was Karen Lamarine, and as we would learn, she carried her dominant ways to Nicodemus Field and to the Academy Street Brickyard. In her freshman softball season of 1984, Karen was the team MVP on offense and was a Central Mass Conference honorable mention. As a sophomore, she helped the Raiders reach the Central Mass final against Rachel Bishop and St. Peter Marion. As a junior, she was the defensive MVP of the Raider varsity, as well as a CMC All-Star. And in her senior year, she helped lead FHS to a 13-5 record while accumulating further honors, such as CMC and TNG All-Star nods, while she hit .380 with 12 RBI and 12 steals in that halcyon spring of 1987. Not only that, Karen set 3 career-based records while a member of the softball team, including those for hits, runs scored, and steals. It must also be noted that next spring, a couple of Karen's numbers are expected to be topped by a current member of the team who is in attendance today. In basketball, yes. In basketball, Karen was a Spitfire for the Red and Gray, and she was equally mesmerizing. In her freshman and sophomore seasons, Karen learned more about basketball and the way to do things at Fitchburg High from arguably one of the greatest to ever do it, that being Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Famer, Pam Briggs. During Karen's sophomore year, she found herself playing more. In a mid-February 1985 game against Wachusett, Karen hit a big bucket with 40 seconds left to tie the tilt at 49 up, showing her mettle in the clutch. In 1985-86, Karen moved into greater focus, and teams across the area did their darndest to stop the 5'9" guard who, in all honesty, played like she was 6'6". And in all honesty, it was difficult to do. Even double-teamed, Karen was the leading scorer in both her junior and senior seasons on not just the team, but the whole CMC. During her senior year of 86-87, Karen averaged 18.4 points per game. But one would think that someone who stood 5'6" and played guard wouldn't be responsible for work on the glass. Yet on this particular FHS girls basketball team, you didn't have to be tall to be rebound, because Karen, as the tallest, did it, and did it with regularity, to the tune of 117 rebounds. But let's not forget, because Coach Ilario will not let us forget, she blocked 52 shots, came up with 47 steals, and 30 assists. When the dust settled and everything was said and done, Karen Lamarine had scored 795 points, which at the time of her graduation sat her second behind Pam Briggs in the FHS girls basketball scoring charts. In the classroom, Karen was equally impressive. She served as treasurer of the National Honor Society, a Gold F winner as a special honor roll student, and was ranked 6th overall in the GPA standings. For further athletic awards, she captured multiple Amiot Awards and also claimed the 1987 District E Athlete of the Year Award for girls all across Central Mass. All of that earned her a spot on the Salem State College softball team, where she was a 3-year starter and helped the Vikings win an ECAC Division III title.
Presenting to Karen, committee member Cindy Donlin.
Thank you, Larry, for going first. Took the edge off. All right, so wow, this is such an incredible honor, and I'm truly thankful for this. It's so nice to see so many people that, faces here today that I haven't seen in a long time. And I've spent most of my adult life on the North Shore, but in Salem and in Newburyport, but now it's nice to be back in the Burg today. So right out of the gate, I just first want to thank Sean Sweeney for nominating me. Thank you. I don't know how he found out about me, but I truly appreciate the time and the energy that you were invested in considering me worthy of this honor. Thank you, Sean. Also, thank you for your work preserving the history of FHS sports and updating our school's archives. Secondly, thank you to all of you on the selection committee for your approval. I am deeply honored and most appreciative. A big thank you to my family, my mom, my dad, and sister, my greatest fans and supporters. I still can't imagine sitting there through those freezing cold early spring softball games as you did. I don't know if I could. And driving me around in so many practices and games and covering those big time user fees that were, I think, $10 back then. I bet that has changed. Thank you to my sister Renee, who helped keep me competitive. Luckily, we were able to play together for a few seasons in each sport. These days, we still compete. Now it's just in pickleball and ping pong, both of which she's better at. Thank you as well to my aunts, uncles, and cousins, many of them who are here today, for all the support over the years, and for all our family backyard cookout games that also helped hone my skills. On a quick side note, my cousin Brian Govin was inducted in last year's Hall of Fame, so it's great to share this accolade with him as well, and he's a lefty too. I also want to thank my friends, my classmates, and my neighbors for always rooting me on, and of course my amazing teammates for the countless and fond memories and laughs that we shared on the field and on the court. While today's about honoring our high school athletic accomplishments, I need to acknowledge and honor the path that I believe brought me here. There's no way I'd be standing here if I hadn't been so fortunate to have simply been allowed the chance to play. When I was starting out, as Sean mentioned, there were no feeder systems for girls. It might have started the year after I started playing baseball, but it was too late. Somehow I got myself fast-tracked into the boys' leagues in both basketball and baseball with zero pushback. This could have gone a completely different way. I realize this as I reflect back. Every coach I had was male, yet they welcomed, respected, and supported me fully as a female athlete competing alongside boys from the age of 9 to 15 years old. This speaks volumes about the youth coaches and the role models in Fitchburg in the 1980s. It also speaks volumes about the boys that I competed with. They didn't treat me any differently. I fit right in, and they let me fit in. So thank you if any of you were here today. I think I saw a couple. So I am a bit of an anomaly, more than one way, being a lefty shortstop. Also, I batted right-handed. Plus, I had the most unorthodox basketball shot ever. I think one of my friends called me Jamal for Jamal Wilkes, because it was something like behind the back, over the head. Anyway, I was still talent worthy, and these coaches and my teammates never thought twice about me playing on their team. It's important to me to name these coaches, as I believe they played an essential role in my success as a female athlete at Fitchburg High. And perhaps you may even recognize some of these names. Mr. Charlie Sawyer and Mr. Goyner were my minor league baseball coaches when it all started at Gus Johnson Field. Mr. Joe Malahi, my first Little League coach, he was probably my biggest fan when I was 10 years old, and he ignited my love for baseball. Mr. Henry Clifford, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. George Green, Mr. John Oringi, and Mr. Charlie Christian, also my Little League coaches. Mr. Christian was the toughest ever. His practices helped me find my grit at age 12. Mark Conlon and Mike Cormier, they were the youngest coaches I ever had. I felt like they were just a couple years older than me. But they were my coaches when I was one of the first girls in Fitchburg to play Babe Ruth baseball. I played alongside my high school best friend, Chris Oringi. Mike Cormier is the one who taught me how to throw a curveball at the age of 13. In basketball, there was my biddy league coach, Jim Gannett. I wasn't the only girl on his team, but there were very few in the league. Mr. Ralph Prasad, who coached me at the Fitchburg YMCA Boys Basketball League. He was always a great supporter of mine. Rest in peace, Ralph. Mr. Al Pierce, I owe a big shout out to. He did something completely out of the ordinary by picking me to play on his Memorial Middle School boys basketball team. That was fun, walking into the gym. when the other teams are saying, what is going on here? Anyway, these coaches opened doors for me, they helped shape my skills, and they paved my way to success at Fitchburg High. For my high school coaches, I'd like to thank Mr. Carusis. He was our FHS Summer League basketball coach he pretty much single-handedly guided me along with the selection process for college to play basketball at Salem State. So I did play basketball and softball and volleyball. I didn't really know how to play volleyball, but they picked me and said, you need to come on our team. And Mr. Gastingay, also, he was a fantastic drill coach on the court for us in basketball. He's here today. There you are. You look great. You're welcome. Mr. Brazili, our heart-based assistant basketball coach at FHS, he was the yin to the yang. And let's just say he understood how to relate to teenage girls. We adored Mr. Brazili. Rest in peace, Mr. Brazili. Coach Ray Kazenza, I want to mention, he aligned the opportunity for me to travel to Europe to play softball in the Netherlands. That was a wonderful experience. And I can't forget the custodian at Notre Dame High School. So growing up on South Street, didn't think much of us. We would run up there and we would do a quick jog up. We'd knock on the door, on the front door, and he would let us in. And he'd let us shoot hoops for hours during his night shift. So if anybody knows who that was, please thank him for me. And then, of course, there was Mr. Ilario, the one-of-a-kind coach with a gigantic heart. Oh, he did have a bark that could intimidate others and likely scared the other teams, which was fine. But I came to see his softer side. Coach had a deaf ear, and we knew which one it was, which was very helpful in the event that we may have needed to bark back. Fortunately, I didn't have to do any barking back at all. How could I complain to a coach that let a lefty play her favorite position at shortstop for 4 seasons, and who also let me crank music during warm-ups at every basketball practice? Coach sometimes called me Don Ho because I wore Hawaiian shorts to practice. I still don't know who Don Ho is. But sometimes Coach called me Special K, which was a play that he created off of a defensive end free throw from out of bounds, with me taking off down the court for a quick 2 from a long baseball pass. I think it worked twice, which is great. There was one particular year which at 5'6", I happened to be the tallest one on the team, as Sean mentioned, and Coach knew that we were doomed on the boards that season. So he set out and he constructed these various sized wooden boxes with his woodshop classes. And every practice we had to do box jumps to improve our leaping abilities. So he was genius with this and ahead of his time with the concept, as we know now. However, it left me with shin splints. But the point is that Coach Ilario did whatever he could do to help us win. In conclusion, though super competitive, it wasn't about the wins or losses that I remember the most, but the laughs, the joy of the game, and most notably, the donuts that Coach Ilario would bring us to our Saturday morning basketball practices. I wouldn't change a single thing about my playing days at FHS with Coach Ilario on both the softball and basketball teams. However, the induction of the three-point line 4 years sooner would have been very helpful to me. So once again, thank you to everyone who made this day possible, including those behind the scenes. I'm truly honored, and I'm sincerely grateful. And I want to say congratulations also to my fellow inductees in the 12th class of Hall of Famers, because you deserve it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you all for induction to the Hall of Fame, Charles Sharros, class of 1950.
Throughout the first half of the 20th century, there were 3 things that a Fitchburg resident could count on: death, taxes, and the Fitchburg High boys basketball team being rather competitive year in and year out. As the 1940s wound down, the FHS Cagers had won a number of titles in the first 48 seasons, including a new one in 1947-48, the Northern Worcester County League crown. That 1947-48 team went 15-2 and had 5 future Hall of Famers on it, and maybe a potential 6th. They were darn good. And many of the faithful thought that the 1948-49 season, with 2 of those Hall of Fame players returning, it would be more of the same. What the faithful didn't count on was graduation taking a lot of points with them. A majority of the scoring that year came out of the hands of 3 players, that being Bob Duncan, Corky Irwin, and Bob Turcotte. Even Johnny Oliva himself noted that the Red and Gray would struggle in 48-49, saying at Christmas time that the bench would be undersized for the schedule we played. As it happened, Johnny was prophetic as the losses piled up due to a lack of scoring options and some tall opposition. But after a few scathing yet anonymous letters to the Fitchburg Sentinel, Johnny changed things up. Enter 12th class inductee, Charlie Sharrows. Charlie Sharrows, from the class of 1950, was a 5'7" magician from Greektown who definitely provided a spark that season. During a loss to Athol in late January 1949, Sharrows caged a team-high 11 points and ran the other Red Raiders ragged. Try saying that 5 times fast. 3 nights later, FHS lost to Worcester Classical, but it was little Dino Sharrows who scored 20 points, working well with fellow Hall of Famer Buddy Stevenson to get fast breaks started. The Sentinel soon reported that Sharrows' height was not a disadvantage. Far from it, in fact. For his efforts in his junior season, area sports writers named him as the only Fitchburg High player to make the Northern Worcester County All-Star team that season. In 1949-50, Fitchburg High was practically unstoppable, winning the Northern Worcester County title for a second time. Johnny employed a man-to-man defense, and Charlie led the team in scoring practically night in and night out as the Raiders rolled to a 13-2 record. A win over Nashua at the Brickyard saw Charlie score 14. A week later, and despite being sick the previous 2 days, he scored 11 points in a win over Clinton. In games against Athol, Sharrows scored 16 and 15 points respectively. Sharrows then popped in a career-high 26 against Nashua on February 17th, and the Sentinel reported the next day, the little FHS captain was immense and a thorn in the side of the Nashua club all the way. In all, Charlie scored a grand total of 342 points in his 2 seasons that he played on Squad A, which at his graduation put him 11th in the all-time scoring chart. He also finished with 106 free throws made, good enough for 3rd all-time. For his senior year performances, Charlie was All-North County for the 2nd straight season and was the recipient of an Amiot Award and a scholarship from the Exchange Club. But basketball was not the only thing Dino was known for while he toiled on Academy Street. No, he was also a pretty good baseball player for the Red and Gray as a slick fielding 3rd baseman who challenged opposing offenses to their detriment. In his junior season, we pinpoint one rather spectacular game, and it came against our arch rivals. This one was a 12-inning affair, with southpaw pitcher Gene Beaudet going the entire way and striking out 26 Blue Devils. You can say that again. But it was Charlie who sparked the 12th inning rally that won it. Beaudet had reached base on an error before another Leominster error, this time off Charlie's bat, kept the rally going. Singles followed before a fielding error brought in the eventual winning runs in a 5-2 FHS win. After time at Springfield College, Charlie made his yearbook prophecy come true as a great coach for our new friends at South Windsor High School in Connecticut, where he served that community for 35 years as a coach, gym teacher, and athletic director. All told, he amassed 675 wins as a basketball, soccer coach, and baseball coach, and his teams captured three state titles for the Bobcats. He earned a lengthy list of accolades, including Hall of Fame honors from the Connecticut High School Coaches Association and the South Windsor High Athletic Hall of Fame, to name two. Not only that, South Windsor honored our inductee in 2014 by naming its gymnasium after him. We lost Charlie Sharros on April 29th, 2016. It was only fitting that on April 29th, 2024, the committee voted positively for Charlie's induction this afternoon.
Presenting to the Sharros family, Sean Sweeney.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for everybody and all the inductees, congratulations. And on behalf of the Sharros family, I'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to the Hall of Fame Committee for bestowing this great honor for my dad, Charlie Sharros. My dad would have been very proud to receive this honor. Thank you again.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer for induction into the Hall of Fame, Mr. Andy LeBlanc, class of 1999.
I can tell you I never tire of saying this, but the 1990s were just an amazing decade of winning for the Fitchburg High football team. In that period, the Red Raiders took on all comers at the corner of Circle and Broad, and more often than not, we came out on top. It led to a number of Super Bowl appearances and 2 Super Bowl championships. Now that second one, 1996, was a great ride that we will honor in due time. And on that year's freshman team was a young man who learned that winning begets winning, consistency begets consistency, and excellence begets excellence, a young man whom we honor today. Andy LeBlanc from the class of 1999 was a hard-hitting linebacker who started the fall of 1997 mainly on the defensive side of the football. But after the starting tailback fell injured, Andy was next on the depth chart. Take advantage of an opportunity and walk through the door he did, as in his first game against Shrewsbury, he rushed for 214 yards and 3 touchdowns. When that 1997 season came to a close, he had rushed for over 1,000 yards and had scored 11 touchdowns. In his senior year, Andy and his backfield bash brother, Dustin LeBlanc, tore through opposing defenses and moved from linebacker to defensive end. He rushed for over 1,100 yards and 12 more touchdowns that season, and he was on the field when the Red and Gray restored order in a 21-7 win over the Blue Devils on Thanksgiving. That 1998 team was special, going 11-0 and finishing in the Central Mass berth in the Division I Super Bowl. For his efforts under Hall of Fame coach Ray Cosenza, he captured the 1997 Bernard St. Germain Award, which is given to the Thanksgiving Day MVP, the 1998 Ted Damko Award as the Super Bowl MVP, the 1998 Anthony Martinez Award as the amazing senior class of 1999, took that as a whole, and was a 2-time S&E and 1-time T&G All-Star. And allow me the opportunity to lay out the winning card with a touch of flair. For those who don't know, historically speaking, Andy's 23 varsity touchdowns puts him just behind the 26 scored by another Hall of Famer, Barry McLean. In the winter and spring months, Andy shifted to indoor and outdoor track under the legendary Hall of Fame coach Chris Woods, where he was simply versatile. Chris took advantage of his speed and turned it into an asset, utilizing him in the dash and the 300 meters before throwing him into 2 relay teams that broke records. He also competed in the high jump and the long jump in his freshman year for indoors and did so again in his sophomore year. That sophomore year, though, he also took part in the pentathlon, where he was part of a 3-man team that set a school record for overall team points and set a school record in the pentathlon high jump, clearing 5'7". In his junior year, he established personal bests in the high jump, a 37 flat 300 and 5.6 in the dash, and helped break the collective record of the 4x200 team from the year prior, and then hit 5'8" in the pentathlon high jump. But in his senior year of 98-99, he focused on the 300. He cut his time down to 36.4. He also chipped in on the 4x400 team and was a pentathlon. In outdoor track, he competed in the long jump, the high jump, the 100, 200, 400. Andy, is there anything you didn't do? The 4x400 relay team, consistently scoring points. But like in indoor track with a pentathlon, the decathlon is the biggie for spring track, and he was a 4-year decathlonner for the Red and Gray. As a freshman, he set a school record for decathlon points by a freshman with 3,946, a record which still stands to this day, and he was a District E team champion with Dallas Heckel and fellow Hall of Famer Jeff Gannett. Now a teacher in the Neshoba Regional School District, he is also the successor to the Tucker coaching dynasty, as he is the Wolves' current head football coach.
Presenting to Andy, committee member Harold Mateo.
Thank you so much to those who nominated me, and also those on the board who voted me here tonight. It's an incredible honor to be part of such a remarkable group. I'd like to thank Mr. Toomley for everything he does for Fitchburg High over the years, and for organizing this event. You are truly the glue that holds many of the organizations together here at Fitchburg High. I'd also like to thank my parents and all of their love and support over the years. And finally, I'd like to thank my wife and my 2 sons for all the support they've given me over the years, especially when I'm dedicating most of my time to football. Fitchburg athletics taught me so much about life and how to deal with the ups and downs. It taught me about the importance of teamwork on and off the field, and how to believe you could win. The underdog always has a chance, because a solid team could and often would overcome better talent. First, I'd like to say a couple things about track and field. Growing up in the city, I always looked forward to the Crocker Field Under the Lights relay. That event is what got me interested and excited about this sport. I enjoyed the energy and the atmosphere it provided, and led me to want to run for Fitchburg High. It also led me to starting a similar event at Neshoba. As a track coach there, I wanted to try to do something similar, and started a memorial race to one of my athletes who tragically died on the field, or on the track. We called it the Do It for Deuce Relay. And for the last 10 years, we've been running under the lights each spring. It is a great event, but it doesn't compare to what happens at Crocker Field. Coach Chris Woods and his father Don Woods were both a huge part of any success that I had at track. They were the ones who convinced me of what I was capable of doing. And that's what great coaches do. They push you to an uncomfortable zone where you can achieve more than what you thought possible. Popwana football was where I found myself. Excelling in the sport brought me self-esteem, focus, and drive. It taught me discipline, determination, and dedication towards a common goal. Coach Quasi, Coach Roy, Coach Gates were just a few that really taught me the sport and the value of showing up every day and giving it your best. As I moved on to high school, I found myself part of an incredibly exclusive group. Fitchburg High football was a dynasty in the 90s, appearing in 8 Super Bowls that decade. I happened to be involved in 3 of those teams and enjoyed every moment. Freshman year, I remember sitting at the bench before practice and talking to PJ Roy and Keith Lovett, a couple other teammates. PJ was explaining that what our schedule would look like senior year. We'd be home against Leominster, and he was going on and on about how we would make the Super Bowl too. I kind of brushed it off just as a dream, but little by little, I also bought into that dream. We worked hard for the next 4 years, and Coach Cosenza set the stage by encouraging us to lift and train year-round. He introduced us to the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program, and most of us hardly ever missed a lift. This dedication paid off. Senior year, we busted out of the gates. This time, Dustin LeBlanc, no relationship, was having an incredible season at fullback. And the both of us rushed for over 1,000 yards that year. We were known as the Bash Brothers, and we loved that role. Our offensive line averaged over 250 pounds, and with 2 power backs in the backfield, we went undefeated in the regular season, defeating Leominster at home on Thanksgiving, just as PJ Roy predicted, as we clinched the playoff berth. We faced off against Springfield Cathedral in early December on the AstroTurf at WPI. That night we fell short, 21-28. We were all incredibly disappointed, but we knew we had accomplished a lot. My experiences at Fitchburg High is what led me to my career. I've been at Neshoba now for 20 years, teaching and coaching track and football. I brought a lot to both of these programs, and it was mainly all of those lessons I learned at Fitchburg High. I was fortunate enough to win a state title in track as head coach, and as D coordinator be part of the 2010s to 2020s Neshoba dynasty that featured the Chieftains at that time and 6 Super Bowls over those 10 years. I'm now the head coach at Neshoba, and I still reflect back to Coach DiGeronimo's fiery pregame and halftime speeches, where he would do whatever it took to get us fired up and ready to go. I have so much respect for Coach Cosenza, Coach Shalafo, and all the other coaches who dedicated their time to helping young men grow and become better human beings. Athletics has such a profound impact on people, and Fitchburg athletics is always close to my heart. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Thank you.
All right, Sean, I owe you a Pepsi. Sean and I sit down and we go through the list and we kind of time out the program and who's going to say a lot, who's not going to say a lot. And I said, Andy won't say much. All right, I owe you a Pepsi.
One of these days, you're going to just listen to me.
Not today.
Let me plink another nickel into the bucket.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to offer for induction to the Hall of Fame 2001 graduate, Crystal Anderson.
The 2000-2001 Fitchburg High School girls basketball team is greatly considered one of the school's all-time best cage crews. With only 3 losses accrued, including the state semifinal appearance against Pittsfield, the Raiders of that era can be compared with the great early 1980s teams of Doug Rutchfield and even the 1925-26 single-loss national championship team of Clarence Amiot. Those teams had one remarkable thing in common: someone in the low post to clean things up and take advantage of those key second chance opportunities. And today we bring to the dais the one who did just that on that particular squad, the one and only Crystal Anderson of the class of 2001. While the Raiders of Crystal's freshman year played hard, the Red and Gray did not have that successful of a season. And in her sophomore year, Crystal and her mom left the city by the river to take care of a sick aunt in Missouri. But after working on her game in the Show Me State, she came back to Fitchburg for her junior year, and Crystal Anderson and the Red Raider girls turned things around, going 16-5 in what was the final season in the Academy Street Brickyard. Her senior year, though, it was the stuff of legends. Fitchburg and Crystal Anderson christened the Fieldhouse with a win over Neshoba, a 24-point performance out of our inductee to help the Raiders to victory. Crystal utilized 3 straight baskets as part of a 13-4 run to close the first half. Then she scored 12 of the first 16 points in the second half. She followed that up with a career-high 32-point, 17-rebound double-double in a win against Athol, and then a team-high 16-point game to knock off previously unbeaten Groton Dunstable. That year, FHS hosted a Christmas tournament, and we claimed our first title of the year, with Crystal scoring 27 points in those 2 games. And before the turn of the calendar, she scored a game-high 25 to pour it on in a win over Oakmont. Against Wachusett, Crystal scored 20 in a 48-45 win. And then came North Middlesex. The Raiders and the Patriots had a solid girls basketball rivalry over the prior decade, with Pat Murphy's team getting the better of us an equal amount of time. But in January 2001, it was Fitchburg and Crystal Anderson who topped NM by 2, 54-52, staving off a late Patriot charge. Crystal had 26 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 block shots that night. When we contacted Murph last year, he had this to say about our inductee. She epitomized the Fitchburg mentality. She went hard some more, and then went hard some more. The winning continued from there, with that last win coming against Leominster to capture the Central Mass title. And a lot of that was the result of the hard work done by Crystal Anderson, a Hall of Famer through and through. After graduation, Crystal played Division I hoops at Morris Brown College, an historically black college and university in Atlanta, Georgia.
Presenting to Crystal, committee member Kama Tuziknot.
Good afternoon. What an incredible honor this is. I stand here today truly humbled and grateful to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thank you. This moment is not just a reflection of my hard work, but a testament to unwavering support of those closest to me. Sorry. To my family, my husband, my children, my sister Angela, my nieces and nephews, and to my 2 high school besties, thank you. You've been my rock since day one. Growing up, I was able to see firsthand the greatest to ever come out of Fitchburg, my brother-in-law, Zach McCall. Which was the extra motivation for me to be the greatest female to ever come out of Fitchburg High. I want to especially thank my mother and father for being my first basketball coaches in the girls' summer league, making me a basketball court outside our home so I could always just go outside and play basketball, to being at every single one of my games. Truly, thank you. Your guidance has been the foundation of everything I've achieved. You've believed in me when I doubted myself, encouraged me to chase my dreams. Your sacrifices and dedication have shaped who I am today. I am forever grateful. A special thank you to my coaches, Mr. Hilario, and none other than Peter Grutchfield. I want to thank my fellow teammates for my senior year. If you followed girls basketball around this time, you knew we'd come a long way. From my freshman year not winning a single game to my senior year, well, I don't have to explain that part. We made it all the way to the state championship game. Even though we didn't get the outcome we wanted, I wouldn't have changed a single thing. I also want to take a moment to reflect on my journey through college, which I had the privilege of playing Division I basketball at a historically black university in Atlanta, Georgia. Those experiences taught me an invaluable lesson about teamwork, resilience, and the power of dedication. My love for the game continues as I've also coached both basketball and cheerleading at Fitchburg High, and now in Florida. As a mother, I have the honor to watch my daughter cheer Division I for the University of South Florida. So my little ones, I'm sure, will follow both in mine and my husband's footsteps of being high school Hall of Famers and going on to play Division I sport. This honor is as much as yours as it is mine. I share this moment with my team and my support system. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. See, it wasn't that hard. You worried for nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you for induction to the Hall of Fame, Keith Gelinas, class of 1980.
Got a lot of folks from the 80s here, I take it, huh? It was a great decade, wasn't it? As we will show you throughout this afternoon's program, the 1970s and early 1980s era of Fitchburg High School's running disciplines was second to none, and undoubtedly just added to the legendary history that we have. This inductee took part in that wonderful time period and certainly flourished for the red and gray. Keith Gelinas came to Academy Street via Memorial, and with a solid work ethic, was destined for greatness. According to his cross-country coach, the legendary Hall of Famer in Ed Gastingay, Keith Gelinas was, and I quote, the most driven kid, the most determined kid, who was just relentless for the Red and Gray Harriers. We look to his final dual meet against Westford Academy in the fall of 1979, where he broke the Coggeshall Park course record by 4 seconds, 15:26, to help the Raiders claim an undefeated 11-0 season and the Central Mass Conference title, as well as a CMC All-Star nod. In indoor track, more of the same. During his sophomore season, he went on the ride of his life with the 1977-78 state championship team that we will honor later today. Using his time on cross country as an asset, Keith competed in the mile, the 2-mile, and the mile relay over the next 3 years, and he had solid times. How solid? On one cold day at Harvard University during his senior year, Keith broke the record set by Hall of Famer Dennis LeBlanc in his mile record of 4 minutes, 33.4 seconds at Boston Garden, set back in 1961, doing so by a smidge over 3 seconds. In his junior year, he stepped into the shoes of another Hall of Famer, that being Hall of Famer Phil Schoenig, who had the flu during a meet against Algonquin and couldn't compete in the 1,000-meter run. Keith won that race and helped break a 36-36 tie to win the meet. Oh, and Keith had an ankle injury too. In outdoor track, and stop me if you've heard this one before, more of the same excellence. In the spring of 1979, Keith and the Raiders won the CMC, winning all but 2 dual meets and qualified for the state championships in the mile in 4:28:02 and a 2-mile time of 10:16 flat. When he turned his tassel, he had won 9 letters. After graduation, Keith went to Norwich University, where he ran cross country and track during his time in the Green Mountain State, including back-to-back undefeated cross country teams in 1981 and 1982. He was also responsible for bringing 3 great Red Raiders in Craig Shalafu, Hall of Famer Mark Jackson, and Fitchburg Police Chief Ernie Martineau to Norwich. He graduated cum laude, making Dean's List in 7 of his 8 semesters, and after time as a second lieutenant in the Air Force, he now works for Amazon, based in his new home of Wheaton, Illinois. He still laces his sneakers up and pounds the pavement for anywhere between 20 and 30 miles per week.
Presenting to Keith, Mr. Pete Stevens.
Thank you, Sean, for that incredible introduction. I first want to say thank you to Coach Ed Gastingay and Pete Stevens for nominating me, and to the Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me. I'm deeply honored and profoundly grateful. To be included among so many distinguished FHS athletes is truly humbling. I want to take a moment to extend my heartfelt thanks to my mother and father, Carolyn and Robert Gelinas, and my grandmother and grandfather, Thomas and Winifred Woodlake, lifelong residents of West Fitchburg and lifelong FHS sports boosters who are no longer here with me. Their support and encouragement were the foundation of my journey at Fitchburg High School. I also want to thank my wife, Lori, who is the bedrock of our family. Between our 4 children, 4 grandchildren, and my crazy travel schedule with AWS, she keeps me organized and grounded and keeps our entire family on schedule. Thank you, Lori. In addition, many of you here today may not know this, but Steve Holt, who is being inducted today for swimming, is my cousin, Sharon LeBlanc Holt's husband, and their 2 children, Jessica and Jason, are my godchildren. So this really is a special day. Congratulations, Steve. You know, it is said that the success of an athlete is very often the result of good coaching. That certainly was the case for me. And so I want to thank all of my coaches for their positive influence. But I particularly want to thank Coach Ed Gastingay, who always got the most out of his runners. Through his leadership and motivation, our cross-country teams were a force to be reckoned with, particularly our senior year in 1979, when we achieved an undefeated season. Coach, you're an incredible leader and mentor. Your unwavering commitment to our team's successes taught me that with hard work and perseverance, we could achieve greatness. Thank you, Coach. I also want to thank Mark Ambrose, who also encouraged me as a runner and pushed me at an early age in the direction of track and field. I don't know if he's here. I didn't see him. Well. Another Fitchburg great who was influential to me was John Cordio. Now, I never played basketball on any of John's teams. Wasn't good enough. But he had a profound influence on me while I worked landscaping for him in the summers of my high school years. John taught me how to do things the right way and not cut corners. It's funny, I often get compliments on my yard back in Wheaton, Illinois. People will stop and ask me, how did you learn to landscape like that? And I tell them, well, I learned from a guy named John Cordio in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. To my teammates, Phil Schoenig, Jonathan Lewis, Peter Bergeron, Jimmy Pappas, Michael Vitelli, Gary Cucarana, Billy Govin, Jimmy Herndon, Mark Clark, and so many more, thank you for the unforgettable memories, the work ethic you instilled, and the countless miles we ran together. Each of you played a crucial role in my experience, and I'll forever cherish the bonds we formed on and off the track. You inspired me to give my all every day. But I particularly want to thank a very special teammate who pushed me beyond my own boundaries. Phil Schoenig pushed me like no other teammate could. I can remember training for our indoor track meets with Phil in the corridors of the old Fitchburg High School, because that was the only track we had in those years. Phil and I would push each other in those workouts until there literally was a puddle of sweat beneath us at the end of each interval. The result of those grueling workouts was that Phil and I both broke records on the same evening at Harvard University in 1980. Phil in the 600 and me in the mile, and the mile record had stood since 1961. As Phil would often say, iron sharpens iron. Thank you, Phil, for being an incredible teammate. You pushed me to be the best, and I hope I did the same for you. I also want to thank my close friends that I grew up with in the neighborhoods of Fitchburg, several who are here today and taught me how to compete both on and off the field. My best friend from Fitchburg High School, Peter Capone, whose family was like a second home for me. In fact, I still refer to Pete's mom as Mom Capone to this day. My neighbors, Don Sauerbutz, Mark Landry, and Walter Beatty, and my teammates Chris Caputi and Dave Brooks. One of my fondest memories is of us playing two-hand touch football games in the middle of snowstorms on Fairview Street that would quickly degenerate into all-out tackle football. And I can remember being launched over a few snowbanks by Don Sauerbutz and Buzz Beatty. Thank you guys for your friendship. I have tried to live my life believing that we all have an obligation to those who follow in our footsteps and to always look for an opportunity to give back. When I graduated from Fitchburg High School in 1980, I made the decision to attend Norwich University, the nation's oldest private military academy. Two Fitchburg High School greats, Mike Gallo and Louis Pappas, had a profound influence on my decision to attend Norwich, and I have never forgotten that. Then, my sophomore year at Norwich, I came back to Fitchburg High School with Chris Caputi on a recruiting assignment for Norwich, and we were able to convince Craig Shalafou and Ernie Martineau to attend Norwich. I'm incredibly proud of what Craig and Ernie have accomplished with their lives and in the service to the Fitchburg community. So I'll finish with this. After graduating from Norwich University in 1984, and serving our country for 5 years as a nuclear missile launch officer in the United States Air Force during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, I moved around quite a bit before finally settling in the Chicago area in 1995. And I often get asked the question in my business travels with Amazon Web Services, so Keith, where are you from? And I always say this: I live in Wheaton, Illinois, but that's not where I'm from. There is a city in central Massachusetts named Fitchburg, and I am proud to say that is where I am from. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're getting there, Sean. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure for me to offer this next gentleman for induction. I just found out a couple of days ago that the family could make it up here from Florida, and I am extremely pleased that they could get up here for this. I offer to you for induction Mr. Tony Onokiku, class of 2011.
We have spoken at length at how Fitchburg High has become a literal melting pot of the world. The current student body is represented through members who come from over 40 countries and all have something special to bring to the table. This next inductee came to us from the great land of Nigeria, who now soars above us like the super eagle he showed himself to be a little more than a decade ago. Tony Onokeku, of the class of 2012, was a solid cornerback on Ray Cosenza's football team, getting his share of calls for tackles made, but he was an outstanding track and field star for Chris Woods, and in fact was a veritable bolt of lightning in the high jump. Coach Woods told us that as a 10th grader, Tony's speed was an asset as it helped him to great heights. And by great heights, we're talking about 5 foot 10 inches. He soon came into his own, and the 6-foot barrier toppled easily. Tony Onokeku owns 2 incredible records in Fitchburg High track, both accomplished within months of each other. The high jump records had, at that time, been established in 1972 by Dan McDermott. And on January 11th, 2012, the indoor track record toppled as Tony, with a crowd of student athletes gathering around the high jump pit in the Doug Crutchfield Fieldhouse, hit the stratosphere with a towering leap of 6 foot 7 inches, tying the Fieldhouse record set 4 years prior. You can applaud to that. After finishing 13th in the nation at the Indoor Track Nationals in New York, Tony turned his eyes toward Dan's outdoor record. And during the first meet of the season, April 5th, 2012, Tony O came up with a rather impressive leap of 6 foot 9. That is a height that is unheard of in interscholastic track and field and probably will never be touched. Due to his efforts, he went to UMass Lowell, where he studied political science. He had a GPA of 3.15 as a member of the Riverhawks and was on the Student Athletic Advisory Council, including a role as the SAAC's treasurer for 2 years. During his final season in UML colors, Tony was named All-America East, All-New England, and All-East. He also improved on his high school best height. He cleared 6 foot 10 1/4. But this story turned tragic in July of 2015 as Tony Onokeku drowned while swimming with friends in the Deerfield River, a passing that many in this room still feel to this day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tony's family. Folks in the back, stand up, please. Back corner. Mr. Onokeku, please come forward, bring your wife with you. Presenting to the Onokeku family, Mr. Craig Antossi. Thank you all for making the trip. We truly appreciate it. Mr. Secretary,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I offer to you for induction to the Hall of Fame, Mr. Justin McDonald.
If you haven't noticed yet by now, we've had a few single sports athletes come up to the dais today. And like the others, this young man had a wonderful career for the Red and Gray, doing so with soft words and with a strong presence. Justin McDonald, of the class of 2004 and of the ever excellent McDonald family, was an outstanding hockey player for Fitchburg High. And much like older brother Frank, himself an FHS Hall of Famer, and sister Megan, whose time to come to the second floor is certainly on its way, Justin made an incredible impact as soon as he arrived on the ice hockey scene in the winter of 2000-2001. In fact, he put other programs on alert. Justin's time with the Red and Gray came a few years after the restoration of the program in the winter of 1993-94, and in the intervening years, FHS had taken its lumps at the Civic Center and rinks across the neighborhood. With the way Justin played, he made sure that the beatdowns those schools had put on our hockey program were at an end. As a 4-year starter and a 2-time captain of the squad, he was a first liner who could both dent twine and help, en route to crossing 100 career points to end up with 104, which was tops when he turned his tassel. 2 of those goals were in the remarkable playoff game against Lunenburg, which started at the New England Sports Center and ended on the Civic Center ice. Justin's coach, the legendary Craig Shalafu, you don't like that nickname, do you? Too bad. He told us the following about our inductee, and I quote, "His quiet presence and leadership was a big factor. We became much more competitive as Justin came on board, and he was either number 1 or number 2 all 4 years and led the team in scoring 2 out of 4. He was an impact player and put the puck in the net. Justin was a big, solid kid, heavy on his skates and heavy on the puck. He had a great, quick wrist shot. He clanked the post every once in a while, and you think the puck would split." Of course, Craig wasn't lying. Leaders lead with how they played, and it was Justin's leadership that filtered down to the likes of Ryan Howe and Zach Lecquier, 2 great FHS hockey players who we have already inducted into the Hall of Fame for their play. Not only that, Justin captured all-star nods for the Sentinel and Enterprise, and he was a 2-time selection for the Central Mass All-Star Game. As Coach Shalafu also said about our inductee, success breeds success, and the better the competition, the better you play. Justin rose to the occasion every single time. And at that time, we played against some of the best competition in the area, including some teams that are now Division I caliber squads. Justin competed, Justin led, and Justin scored against the very best that Central Mass had to offer 2 decades prior. That is what Hall of Famers, especially ones named McDonald, do in Fitchburg.
Presenting to Justin, Mr. Madlamy. It's like a corn maze, Justin. Just kind of weave your way through.
So I'm really bad at speeches, so I'm going to make this one short and sweet. I'm the youngest of prior Hall of Famers to go in, so I've been lucky enough to witness what Andy was talking about, the 2000 football team, 98 football team. Also, with Crystal, my sister was on that team. My sister should be in the Hall of Fame too. I just throwing that out there. I was there to witness all that, so it's been a good ride, and I would like to thank my parents, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Justin. You won that bet. We're even, Sweeney. I won that bet.
What was the bet?
So what do I owe you this time?
Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you for induction to the Hall of Fame, Mr. Steve Holt.
The sport of swimming, much like boys tennis, has gone the way of the dodo bird at good old FHS. I'm not lying. Both sports are considered white collar, and neither team has been sponsored by our athletic department for quite some time. We do have a rebuilding girls tennis program, but as shown by Harold Hecker and with tennis earlier this afternoon, we have with us today one of our all-time great swimmers who will take his rightful place in the Hall of Fame forevermore and show that those sports are certainly not forgotten. Steve Holt, of the Fitchburg High class of 1969, was a four-year swimmer who earned letters in each of his 4 seasons in the Wallace Avenue YMCA pool. Starting with the winter of 1965-66, freshman Holt and the Red Raider Mermen put all schools on alert. Fitchburg High is gunning for you. And did we ever? As Steve helped FHS to an undefeated interscholastic record of 9-0. That meant FHS toppled perennial pool powerhouse in Gardner. That particular meet, Fitchburg had tied the event thanks to a solid 60-yard freestyle race before the Hall of Fame duo of Mike McNamara and Steve Holt came up 1-2 in the individual medley with only 1.1 seconds separating them. Steve also picked up points in meets against Winchendon's Clark Memorial Team, Boston English, and Leominster that season. Steve's sophomore year of 1966-67 saw the Raiders take part in a highly competitive dual meet season. But in his junior year, FHS did more than just compete. Once again, the red and gray swimmers went undefeated to win the North Worcester County title for the second time in 3 years. And Steve Holt was an integral part of that success. Along with McNamara and standouts Steve Smith and Rick Hoddle, Holt swam a vicious second leg in the 400-yard freestyle team that placed first and set a new state record, 3:37.6, at the Eastern Mass Championships, a meet that saw Fitchburg High finish 3rd overall and then place 2nd in the All-State meet with his relay squad. But his senior year of 1968-69 was the stuff of pure legend, as Steve rewrote the FHS swimming record book in 3 disciplines: the backstroke, the breaststroke, and the individual medley, doing so to the tune of 6 records. At the Eastern Mass Championship competition, Steve set a new record in the 200-yard IM and a record in the 100-yard breaststroke, taking first place in both events. And at the All-State meet, he placed first in the 200 IM with a blistering 2:13, which was 0.2 off the state championship record, and second in the 100 breast at 108.6. It was at the New England meet at the University of New Hampshire where Steve staked his claim to be recognized as one of the greatest swimmers in the pantheon of Fitchburg High athletics. On a day where the team finished 7th in the region, Steve became only the 2nd ever Fitchburg High swimmer to capture a New England title when he clocked 2:13.7 in the 200 IM. Steve also took 3rd in the 100 breaststroke in Durham, taking the FHS record in 108.3, the record for a 25-yard pool. Steve is retired now, but not from swimming. He is consistently competing and consistently winning. That is what Red Raider alums do in the pool.
Presenting to Steve, committee member Deb Dion.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, my family, my coaches, Carl Stacy, my good friend who nominated me, my teammates, and all my friends that are here today, and a huge congratulations to all my fellow inductees. As a kid, I became a member of the YMCA and joined the Y swim team. Vince Herring was our coach and the one that started the aquatic program that produced so many terrific swimmers and swim teams. Vince coached Hall of Famers John Sultan, Mike McNamara, along with star swimmers Jeff Wilkerson, Rich McNamara, Rick Caudill, and Don Logan. Yes, before becoming a standout Red Raider football player, Don was a star swimmer on our YMCA swim team, and we're fortunate to have Don here today. As a kid, Don was massive. He was 6 feet, 185, probably at the age of 10. Our coach Vince often used Don to literally swamp our opponents at the start of a close race. Those opponents never stood a chance. They'd be gasping and choking for air after getting hit by the tidal wave from Don's belly smacker in the water. Vince also coached the Fitchburg High School swim team in the early 1960s, and the 1964 team claimed second place honors at the high school state championships. John Marion, who is with us today, was a standout swimmer on that all-star team. Fast forward to my good old high school swim days. Our team under Coach Bob Christie went undefeated in high school meets in my freshman and junior years. Think about that, undefeated against the best teams in the state. Our biggest victory came when we beat Gardner High School my freshman year. Gardner back then was a powerhouse, and they were state champions year after year. Bob Christie worked on his battle plan for a major upset win against Gardner, and everything went as planned. It was really, truly a nail-biter, with our team securing the upset victory by winning the final relay event. It was a huge win and revenge for Fitchburg High, since the Red Raiders had lost to Gardner Wildcats in the final relay the year before. True to Bob's character, his quote in the local newspaper the next day summed it up. Every squad member starred because that is the way it had to be. That sums up Bob's coaching style. Everyone contributed to the team's success, whether you picked up a first place or a valuable third place. That is why we went undefeated and had the team depth. Because, Bob, that is the way it had to be if we were going to win. Speaking of Bob Christie, this guy was way ahead of his time for training swimmers and adults in his fitness programs. We swam twice as many yards as any other high school swim team at the early morning practice. And by the way, the practice started 6 a.m. promptly, and it was followed by the Breakfast of Champions, donuts from Mary Ann's. Bob's unique endurance training program worked well for talented swimmers like Steve Smith, Mike McNamara, Rick Caudill, and myself, as we set a new state record, as stated before, in the 400-yard freestyle relay my junior year. But Bob's forte was working with the average swimmers: Brian Walsh, Ken Block, Mike Levine, and Dave Buckley. Bob knew if we were to beat powerhouse teams like Gardner, Brookline, East Longmeadow, and Boston English, we needed a team depth. Everybody contributed to our team's success. Vince Herring returned as my swim coach my senior year, and as under his guidance, I won the 200 IM at both the States and New Orleans. My classmate and good friend Rick Caudill placed first in the 100-yard butterfly at the States, and captured second place at the New Orleans in the same event. Vince passed away a number of years ago, but that's the reason why I'm wearing these medals in his honor, because he was a great coach. I returned to competitive swimming in 2012 and became a member of the U.S. Masters Swimming Association. I compete in a number of local meets, as well as the New England Masters and Winter Spring Championships. These meets bring over 600 swimmers of all ages and swimming abilities. So much has changed since my high school days. The starts, the turns, the strokes, and even the suits that we wear. The little bikini things we used to wear. But two things haven't changed. To excel in any sport, it takes hard work, a trait that Bob Christie instilled upon me, and determination, a trait that I credit to Vince Herring. My wife, Sharon, and I can see that hope, sense of determination in our daughter, Jess, when she's at mile 24 of a challenging marathon. Most runners have hit the wall at that point and are fading, but I can read her mind. She's saying to herself, I trained extremely hard for this. I got this, and she finishes strong. Many of you recall our son Jay was an outstanding hockey goalie for both St. Bernard's and Fitchburg State University. An interesting fact is that he didn't start playing ice hockey till he was in the 8th grade. Thus, Jay had to work twice as hard as others at all his practices. He would often still be on the ice way after his teammates had showered and gone home. Sharon and I are blessed to have 4 beautiful grandchildren, Cora, Brooke, Nolan, and Daniel. Let me end by saying this. It's never too late to get back in shape. I'm blessed to be able to get back into the pool and start swimming where I left off 55 years ago. I encourage you to do the same. Become more active, whether it's playing pickleball at the local court or exercising at the gym. If Bob Christie, at the age of 87, can do it, you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We're on the home stretch. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you for induction Stephanie Dantini Gallant, class of 1989.
So, Steph, do they know? Do the people around the table know what's coming? Today is a momentous day. Not only is today a great day to celebrate Fitchburg High athletic greatness, it's a day to show our inductees' families, especially their children, that all their stories of their athletic exploits were indeed true and not simply parental boasting. Now, I have it on extremely good authority that one such youngster in attendance today constantly rolled her eyes whenever her mom told her about her athletic exploits at FHS. Yeah, I'm looking right at you, Sydney. So here is the true story about your mom. And she was a great softball pitcher, bar none. She drove up from Kentucky for this treatment. Stephanie Dantini, of the class of 1989, kept the Raider winning ways going. When legendary Hall of Fame coach Tony Ilario looked her way when the job was hers and hers alone, she stepped into the circle and became the first power pitcher Fitchburg High had ever had. In her junior year of 1988, Steph recorded 13 wins for the Red and Gray. But it was her senior year that Steph Dantini was purely unstoppable. In the season opener, she fired a one-hitter, striking out 7 Hudson hitters and adding 2 hits of her own as the Raiders pounded the Hawks 21-1. She fanned 8 in a 17-2 2-hit win over Algonquin. Yet in her April vacation game, Steph put together one of her finest interscholastic performances against Clinton. Over the first 16 years of Fitchburg High softball, no one, not even 40-game winner Michelle Brissett, had pitched a no-hitter. Against Clinton, Dantini tossed that first elusive no-no, which FHS won in 5 innings, a mercy shortened 23-0. Not only that, it was a 5-inning game, 3 outs per inning. That's 15 outs. Steph retired a grand total of 14 hitters by way of the K, which set the school record for strikeouts in a game at that time. She followed that up with a 3-hit win over Westboro, where she added 2 hits of her own, and then allowed 2 hits in a 15-1 win over Marlboro at Nicotus. She then beat Milford 16-5. When Marlboro came up on the schedule again, it was another 15-1 FHS win. But Steph lowered the opposition hit total by 1. She then had another 1-hitter against Shrewsbury. Was there anything you couldn't do? She could also make opposing pitchers suffer, such as when she made Rose Howe, her opposite at St. Bernard's, blanch with a bases-clearing triple in the 3rd inning of a 6-1 win at Nicotus. She 1-hit and fanned 7 Leominster High hitters as part of a 2-1 FHS win. Through the regular season, Steph went 11-1, only losing to St. Bernard's en route to the Midland League title. FHS was 15-2 entering the postseason, drawing a high seed and a couple of home games before heading to Spencer. Dantini continued to own Leominster in the playoffs as Fitchburg beat the Blue Devils 4-3. She also fanned 2 against Tantascwa of Sturbridge, coming up with a 5-2 win over the Warriors at Nicotus. That led into a semifinal matchup with St. Peter Marion, and as anyone who knows anything about high school softball, St. Peter's was always a hard out. Fitchburg and Steph's run to a title ended in defeat, but it does not diminish anything that she and her teammates did for the 4 years that they were at FHS. Steph Dantini was, is, and will always be a legend.
Presenting to Steph, committee member Deb Dion.
Thank you very much for this. I'm so grateful for being recognized in this way. I certainly never imagined I would be considered for this honor, so it was definitely a surprise. And as Sean said, it's safe to say it was also a surprise to my adult children who would not indulge me whenever I would whip out the old softball scrapbook and want to reminisce. Maybe I just wanted to prove to them that some of their athleticism came from their mother. I'm thankful they could be here today, though, because this is an achievement I'm very proud of. They are by far my greatest achievement and my most favorite people in this world. I have to share this honor with my entire team. You see, as a pitcher, you're only good as your defense, and my defense was solid and consistent. They were behind me in every way, whether I was throwing strikes or not. There were a lot of balls that were hit to them that could have been a hit, but I saw many of them dive and throw themselves out there just to catch them. We were a team, but we were definitely friends first. Some of my favorite memories were from these softball years. When I consider the fact that I'll be hanging on the Hall of Fame wall next to so many incredible athletes, including my former teammates, Paula Goodchild, Tara Sweeney, and of course Karen, I'm genuinely humbled because I never would have considered myself to be anywhere near as talented as they are. Coach Ilario would be so proud of us and would more than likely find some backhanded way to congratulate us. Kind of like that time he told me that I led the team with the most triples. When I opened my mouth to thank him for this rare compliment, he finished his sentence with, "Too bad you don't have wheels like Megan, or you would have led us in home runs." So when you say, was there something I wasn't good at, I was slow. And then he laughed his laugh. But all kidding aside, Coach willingly dedicated countless hours of his own time to coach a bunch of sassy teenage girls. He created strong athletes and talented teams, and I hope he knew how much we appreciated him. I picture him up above now with my mom and dad, who he knew. Maybe they're raising their glasses. I know back then they were my greatest fans. Once again, my thanks to Sean and all of those of you who felt I was deserving of this honor. I truly appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I offer for induction to this 12th class, Eric Hansen, class of 1981.
We have spoken before about the great gifts we at Fitchburg High have received from all corners of the country and from multiple regions of the world. And in the fall of 1980, we received one of the greatest runners we have ever seen in the one and only Erik Hansen of Norway. A young man who stunned Ed Gastingay at their first meeting in the old FHS guidance suite when he told him how fast he ran the mile. A blistering 4:12. Erik Hansen went on to set numerous records for the American alma mater that he loves, a school he only attended for 1 year. First, he took to the hills and dales of North Worcester County by storm. He won every cross-country dual meet the Raiders took part in that fall and claimed first-place finishes in the prestigious Lunenburg Invitational, the Wachusett Invitational, and Doherty's Knights of Columbus Road Race on the streets of Worcester. With Mike Vitelli and Jonathan Lewis keeping everyone else at bay, he broke numerous course records, including the year-old 2.8-mile Coggeshall Park course record of 5:22, set by his fellow 12th class inductee Keith Gelinas in the fall of 1979. Erik beat it by 28 seconds. In indoor track in the winter of 1980-81, more of the same came out of the legs of Erik Hansen. Fully recovered from a harrowing ordeal at the Central Mass Championships at the Gardner Golf Course, he went unbeaten in every dual meet, ripping off wins in the 600, the 1,000, and the mile, taking the district title in the mile discipline. His state championship mile time of 4:23.5 at the BU Armory in that winter broke the school record, a record which no FHS athlete has been able to touch since. In the spring of 1980, Erik took to the cinders of historic Crocker Field, and like everything else he did, he came out tops. He set the mile record, doing so 4 seconds faster than he had at BU only a few months beforehand, and again, no one has been able to beat that. He finished 4th at the state meet and entered Crocker Field for graduation just a tad tardy, graduating in his track singlet instead of his gown. He turned his tassel and then went on to New England's the following week, finishing 3rd in his final race for Fitchburg High. He returned to Norway that summer and continued his Norwegian high school education, graduating in 1983. He then returned to the U.S. in August 1983, attending Boston University on a full ride. While a member of the Commonwealth Avenue Canines, his FHS success followed him. Not surprising, he set several records at BU, which still stand today. Back in Norway, he went on to win national titles. National. In the 5,000 and the 10,000. Nowadays, Erik's still a world traveler as the CEO of a service company in the medical device industry, and this weekend is his first visit to his adopted American hometown in a decade. Welcome home, Erik Hansen, and welcome to the Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Making the presentation to Eric, Cindy Donlin.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. I just gotta get my papers in order. I think my accent's gonna keep you awake, so we'll be a few minutes. No, it's a few people I'd like to thank. First, congratulations to my fellow inductees. Congratulations, well done. Welcome to Hall of Fame at Fitchburg High. Also like to thank the committee for this recognition. Also, special thanks to Richard Caraba. I think you nominated me, and I know you've been working real hard together with several people at my table. Mark Jackson, also Hall of Famer. Michael Vitelli, Craig Jalafu, Harry Thomas, and John Leder. And I also have in attendance Tony Keneally from Boston University, and also Hall of Famer, and 3-time All-American at BU. So it's thank you for coming, guys. I appreciate it. And I want to second Keith before he said some people mean more than others, and I would like to thank you to the Gasengay family, especially Coach Gasengay. Had a great time, and Jeannie as well. I mean, the whole family. I see them sitting around, so thank you, guys. And also to the Vitelli family and the Albert family. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here today. Thank you a lot. It means a lot. And I think when you see the plaque there, it says 4. It says, you know, my senior. I was only an exchange student here for a year, but Fitchburg High has forever been in my heart after that. So it's a great place to go to school. You know, when you get older, you look back at what you've done in your life, and you know, I'm so glad I got to experience what I've done. So and the Fitchburg High School experience truly changed my life. You know. It was a start of a long love for the U.S., the people, and the go-get-'em attitude. I got to experience the Fitchburg High School student life, and I actually loved the food in the cafeteria. Yeah, and the sports. I know in the beginning, Mike took me to watch Craig and those guys play football, and I had a history with Tom DeGeronimo, sits next to me. I had to go watch the basketball games. And I had law with Richie Messafaro, who was also a fantastic player. So I did a lot of sports events at Fitchburg High, and I loved it. And I had great teachers, you know, believe it or not. I had Mr. DC for law, fantastic teacher. Miss Massey for English. Miss Conley for U.S. history, and I sat next to Tom DeGeronimo, who was also a Hall of Famer. You know, great friendships formed, still kept them after a long time. And Mrs. Milbury for U.S. Constitution. And law and U.S. Constitution, fantastic subjects. Coming back to BU after a couple of years, half of the stuff I had there at law, I had at Fitchburg High. So it's a good thing. I got to travel to Washington, D.C. with the Gasengay family. Had a VIP tour in the White House. I think it was us and 2 Indian chiefs. And we got to almost talk to Ronald Reagan. He was a few feet away. And you know, Washington, D.C., fantastic city to watch. All the U.S. Museums, historic museums. Got to run cross country for the first time. Indoor track in the hallways. Also got to experience mononucleosis. Unfortunately, it came during track season, so I had a couple of weeks I had to take it easy. I got to graduate in the tracksuit. You know, and everybody else in nice cap and gowns. And me in a tracksuit. I think Jonathan Lewis also had to go through the same thing, but I survived that. I had a couple of ambulance visits after races. You know, they were mentioned the cross-country race at Gardner Golf Course. Being in the lead with 200 to go, and suddenly you crawl the rest of the way. It's a hard way to finish. And I think I spent like 2 hours in the ambulance after the race. But I still managed to qualify for the state meet and did well the next game. And a lot of new friends, a lot of good friends still here after 43, 44 years. Jane, she's here. Mary Beth, Carla, Tracy, are you here? Look me afterwards. Yeah. And I went to Dario's on Friday night, and there were like 20 to 30 people from the classes of 1980 and 81. Had a great time. I'm getting emotional because I haven't seen those guys in 40 years. Fantastic. And you know, countries are different. You know, and in Norway, I had to go back and finish my high school in Norway, and at that time they didn't count the high school in the U.S., so I had to take the year over, which is kind of, it's not like that now. So I had 2 more years of high school, and Mr. Gassen, I have to say this, I'm sorry. I was accepted at Brandeis University, thanks to Mr. Gassen. Got a call at 4 in the morning. Coach Kevin Coyne at BU called me up. You know, as Crystal said, Division 1, important stuff. He called me up and he said, "We've heard you going to Brandeis." And I got to experience the politics of Division 1 versus Division 3 schools before I even got there. And he said, "We can offer you a full scholarship. Would you like to go to BU?" And I was like, "You have to call the coach at Brandeis, Norm Levine, and tell him I'm not coming." So what happened, next day at 5 p.m., a guy from BU knocks on my door. And he hopped on a plane, got me to sign the papers, got registered for classes from Norway. And I was like, what the hell? This is going to be a good thing. You know, I know now that what it means to get a full scholarship at a Division 1 school. I didn't know then, because when I see the cost of going to college today, I think Boston University, $87,000 a year. It's a huge thing, and I didn't know then. I know now. I was privileged. I used to say I paid for it in blood, sweat, and tears, but I don't know. It's a lot. At BU, I got to do both academic and you know, challenges in the athletics, but I got on a great team. 3rd place in the NCAA's teams for cross country. 5th place in the indoor track, All-American. You know, it's and the best of all, it's I don't know, several GBC titles and the New England's. But again, a degree from an American university got me a long way when I got back home. We had a great team, you know, led by Bruce Lane, the late Bruce Lane. He was not only a coach, but he was a mensch, you know, taking care of the kids, just like Mr. Gassen. And after BU, I had a great career. Thanks to the education at BU, I think. Every job I applied for, I got an interview and got accepted for the job, and I think the school had a lot to do with it. Got to travel the world, run a few races, meet a lot of interesting people. Got to run the World Cross Country Championships 5 times. It's pretty hard when you run 6 miles and it hurts from the first yard you run. It's a long race, a lot of good runners. Yeah. And also because of BU, I think I had a lot of fantastic jobs. I worked for American companies for 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry. Merck, Abbott, Hollister. Got to travel back to the US many times again. Not so many times back to Fitchburg, but all over the place. So it's, yeah, and I also get to meet the late, I think, Hall of Famer Steve Ciccolini down in the Congress in Orlando. And a friend of mine told me, "Hey, Eric, some guy's waving at you." I said, "I don't know anybody here." And it was Coach Ciccolini, just out of the blue, about 40,000 people there, and I met him. And I also met Coach Lammy at Bislett Games in Norway, cheering from the stands. I was like, whoa, it's a small world. It's getting smaller. And again, I'm crazy about sports, so I follow the Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, and the Red Sox. But again, what happens when Tom Brady goes to Tampa? What the hell? Should I go with him or should I stay? Well, I'll cheer for the Patriots. Yeah. And again, when you get older, you sometimes need to reconnect with the old friends here again. And therefore, this trip, I think it's 3,500 miles. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And as you know, your kids are important to you, so I brought my daughter Ida that came with me, and we had a couple of good days here, so thanks. And I said, if you come to Norway, look me up. You can stay at my place as long as you all don't come at the same time. You know, I just want to end by saying that thank you for accepting me as one of your own, and I wish you a fantastic afternoon. And I have to say this, good luck, and don't forget to vote on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. We're into the coaches section of our program. I offer for induction to the Hall of Fame swim coach Bob Christie.
Earlier today, we inducted our third swimmer to the second floor as Steve Holt took his rightful place alongside teammate Mike McNamara. Now, we induct the man who helped lift these two to great heights. Bob Christie came to Fitchburg in 1963, serving as the physical director of the Wallace Avenue YMCA before introducing himself to FHS AD and fellow Hall of Famer Marty McDonough. In 1964-65, Christie served as the Fitchburg High freshman swim coach before he took over the varsity in the winter of 1965-66. Over the next 3 years, with targeted goals for each swimmer, he turned the Red and Gray Mermen into contenders that could hang with and defeat the best competition in the state. The turn was instantaneous, as 1965-66 was a 9-win North Worcester County Championship season, including Fitchburg High's first ever win over Gardner, with the Raiders beating the Wildcats thanks to a strong 400-yard freestyle relay by Alan Hassett, Edgar P.A., Joel Gardfob, and Les Meehan. The next season, 1966-67, saw the Red and Gray put together a highly competitive dual meet season, but it was in 1967-68 which saw Fitchburg High go undefeated again, and yes, another victory over Gardner and another North Worcester County Championship title to show for it. The accolades that Christie's swimmers earned in the pool that year were phenomenal and numerous. The Fitchburg High 400-yard freestyle relay team of Steve Smith, Hall of Famer Steve Holt, Rick Hoddle, and Hall of Famer Mike McNamara set a new state record at the Eastern Mass High School Swimming Championships, as well as a second-place finish at the All-State Meet. At the Eastern Mass Championships, the Raider Mermen placed third overall. McNamara placed first in the 100-yard fly in both the Eastern Mass and the All-State Championship meets, and then third in the New Englands. Tom Projan placed third in the 400-yard freestyle at the state meet, and Rick Hoddle, the All-American, was fifth overall in the 200-yard free. You can clap. Go ahead. After the 1967-68 season, Bob stepped down as coach in order to pursue a post-grad degree from UMass, and Vince Herring took over the program once again. But a great deal of the credit for the 68-69 season can go to Christie, as the team was extremely competitive, and Steve Holt and Rick Hoddle broke 7 long-standing FHS individual records with impressive performances at the Eastern Mass, State, and New England meets. Now, how many of you are all old? Oh, that's a lot. Fitchburg residents of a certain age can remember a running track on the roof of the Wallace Avenue facility. That track was the brainchild of the one and only Bob Christie, now and forevermore a Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Famer. Presenting to Coach Christie is Hall of Fame committee members Matt Lamy from the Fitchburg High class of 2004 and Fitchburg High Athletic Hall of Famer Pete Stevens from the class of 1958.
Wow. Can't believe this old relic is still standing, but thank you so much to the Hall of Fame committee. Thank you for Sean for the tremendous bio, so flattering. And a big salute to all the tremendous athlete fellow inductees here and there. First of all, the only reason I'm in the Hall of Fame is because my dear friend Steve Holt. For 2 years, Steve did all the tireless legwork, contacting all of our former swimmers far and wide, getting all their tributes put together, putting together all the dual meet swim meets we had from 65 through 68, and submitting it to the Hall of Fame committee. And by some chance, they inducted me into the Hall of Fame. I'm so proud. How I got the coach, Vince having left, and Vince was a legend. He was the father of swimming, competitive swimming in Fitchburg before I got there. But Monty McDonough, the athletic director, came to me and said, Bob, I need a coach. You're at the YMCA, the pool's at the YMCA, please take the job. Monty, I know nothing about swimming, and this is the truth. I came to the YMCA, could swim a little breaststroke and a little bit of side stroke, maybe a little dog paddle. That was it. One of the members of the YMCA worked with me all July, the first year I got there, for 4 weeks teaching me how to swim, so I could get my lifeguarding certificate. But Monty, when Monty approached me, he said, Bob, also you're going to get $600. That was 1/10 of the salary I was making. So I told my wife, should I take the job? She said, we need a washing machine. Take the job. That's how I got to coach the team. Now, coaching that team was one of the greatest treasures of my life. I only had 2 things going for me. I knew a little bit about physical fitness and conditioning, but boy, did I care about those kids. I loved each and every one of those kids. And Steve, contrary to the average swimmer, there's talent, there's levels of talent, there's tiers of talent, but all of those kids that I had for those 3 years in practice and in the swim meets, every single one of those kids swam with the heart of a champion. They're all Hall of Famers in my book. And in those 3 years, every one of those kids on that swim team earned a letter, which I'm really proud of. Now, I gotta honor 4 swimmers of mine who have passed away. Brian Donnelly, who was my backstroker. First 2 years I coached the varsity, always came, practiced with a smile on his face, passed away way too young, the age of, in his late 30s. Rod Stocking, a breaststroker, my last 2 years, always came with a sense of humor, great teammate, cheered everybody on. Mike McNamara, one of the greatest all-around swimmers, along with Steve and Rick in the Fitchburg Hall of Fame. And then lastly, David Buckley, who just passed away earlier this year, a dear friend of mine. And without Dave Buckley, most of you don't know, Steve and I wouldn't be here today. In 1992, 24 years after I finished coaching the 1968, Dave arranged a reunion for all our swim team members who could get together, 1992. Since that time, through the efforts of Dave, Kenny Block, and Steve Holt, we met at Slattery's at least once, if not twice a year, until COVID. We get at least 15 or 20 swim team members and other friends together. And those reunions created all those deep friendships and lasting bonds that are here today. Steve and I owe a debt of gratitude to one of the greatest kids I've ever known, David Buckley. So I wanted to give him credit for us being up here today. The other thing is, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I came here to the YMCA. And for 15 years, the city of Fitchburg embraced me and my daughter, made us feel like royalty. From the YMCA to the Fitchburg public school system, to all the camps, the fitness programs I ran, the fire department, I have just a debt of gratitude for all the people in Fitchburg that blessed me and my daughter for 15 years. Lastly, the people that showed up to help me share in this honor, I can't tell you, former swimmers and so many friends. Your loyalty and friendship through all these years that you've known me means so much to me. And You forever enrich my life, and I just want to thank you. Thank you all.
Now, let me tell you something. When we put together our nominations, I usually do like a 2 or 3 page nomination. I think I saw one time we had a 4-page nomination, maybe a 5. What Steve Holt put together for Bob Christie was a 62-page PDF. And I thought my eyes were bad already, Steve. Oh, hi, Craig. How are you?
Doing well, Sean. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Okay. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, congratulations all of today's inductees. Congratulations all the families of those inductees and all the supporters of those inductees, because without you, honestly, most of this isn't possible. You're the people who are cheering on these inductees from the stands, quietly supporting at home with a warm meal after a long day out, or just a shoulder to lean on after a tough day. I am pinch hitting because I have the distinct pleasure of offering someone here up for induction today who has been that person for this district and that's in this city for the better part of his adult life. It is with my distinct pleasure I offer to you for induction to this 12th induction class, my dear friend, Mr. Alan Toomley.
So I want to go off the cuff for a moment before I go into my prepared remarks. When Freddie died in August of 2018, and I became the historian by default, appointed, anointed, I wrote a eulogy for Fred that ran a few days later in the Fitchburg Sentinel. And I called him a pillar of FHS athletics. And what does that mean? It means he was one of the people that really taught us what Jeremy would call the Red Raider way. You know, he knew everything about Fitchburg High athletics. And he was just one of many pillars that, in my subjective opinion, would be considered pillars. Obviously, first would be John Waters. Not many in this room know who John Waters is. I'm not going to tell you who John Waters is. You're going to have to wait for my book. He laid the foundation. Amiot was the cornerstone. And from there, the rest of the pillars came. Ralph Howard, John Oliva, Erkki Kuuttinen, Ed Gaston-Gay. Eddie, it's morning. Wake up. Steve LeBlanc, Chris Woods, Mark Ambrose, Doug Rutchfield, John Cordio, Ray Cosenza, Paul DiGeronimo, and Alan Toomley. The reason I say this is because I don't think Alan gets the appreciation he deserves. He doesn't get the appreciation he deserves. I am a barking seal. You say that, I'll say it again. He does everything for this athletic program. He does everything for this school, and I'm going to read them off to you very shortly. And you know, there's a saying that, you don't see certain people in the room together at the same time. You don't see Alan Toomley and Clark Kent in the same room. But you do see Alan Toomley and Superman in the same room because he's the same damn person. Is that okay, Renee? Did that go well for you? Okay? I'm just pointing that out there. Longevity. Longevity is a word with two meanings. It can mean long life or long service. I'm not touching the first definition with a 10-foot pole or a 68.5-foot pole. In the Fitchburg Public Schools, there are many men and women who have served our students faithfully for years. For example, longtime superintendent of schools Joseph Edgerly held the job from 1875 to 1914, a 39-year time period. Charles Woodbury held the principal's job at FHS for 24 years. In athletics, the legendary Clarence Amiot had the job as coach and athletic director for 25 years. Johnny Oliva, he graduated from FHS in 1928, from Catholic University in 1932, and went to work in a variety of roles, including gym teacher, assistant football coach, basketball coach, baseball coach, and tennis coach, finally retiring in 1969. Doug Grutchfield was coach for 32 years, spending time as AD too. And Ray Cosenza had 30 years of service with the Fitchburg Public Schools, retiring in 2019 after time spent as football coach, baseball coach, AD, vice principal, and past president of our Hall of Fame committee. Our 12th class contributor is one of our great alums and has been with Fitchburg High School in a professional capacity and with various roles, now into his 4th decade of service. Alan Toomley, from the Fitchburg High class of 1974, has spent the last 33 years in service to our city, our school, and its student athletes. Starting in 1991, Alan started as an EMT during that Hall of Fame Super Bowl championship season. He also took on a full-time role handling the security at 98 Academy Street, as well as serving as the in-house suspension monitor. His roles increased over time. He was a long-term history sub, the director of media and television when the school moved to North Fitchburg. Soon, he added additional titles, such as game administrator and faculty manager, to his lengthy resume. And after Ray retired, Alan moved into the athletic office and helped both Craig Antossi and Todd Robbins with the day-to-day aspects of the athletic department. In addition, he has been chairman of our Hall of Fame committee since 2020, helping to not only lead us through the pandemic, but to put on 2 high-class induction ceremonies in 2022 and today. Suffice it to say, Alan has carried not only the athletic department, but the entire school to the point where this guy just needs a new back. Okay, so the joke hit, Alan. So the joke hit. You know more about comedy than I do. But if there's anything Alan is most proud of in his 30-plus years with Fitchburg High School, it is serving as the director of the UMass Sports Medicine Program and Clinic at FHS since its inception in 2000. It's his baby, so to speak, as he formed it after discussions with the late Dr. Paul Cochran and Dr. Bernie Westerling. It's set up as a fellowship where 2 doctors are hired every year, and those physicians undergo an intensive 12-month program in sports injury management, working under the sports medicine department at UMass Worcester. Injured Red Raiders student athletes go to the clinic on the second floor of FHS every Monday, and Alan is right there every step of the way. Taking care of the athletes has been his main focus throughout his 33-year tenure, and with this program, he continues to do so. I hate this paragraph. At some point, Alan Toomley will retire from Fitchburg High. And his long years of service to the Fitchburg Public Schools will come to a close. Leaving with him will be a multitude of memories from thousands of outstanding FHS athletes and tens of thousands of FHS athletic competitions. We hope that it's not anytime soon, as this coming winter, the winter of 2024-2025, will mark his 100th consecutive season as the trainer of the Red and Gray. Longevity indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the dais, Mr. Alan Toomley. Presenting Alan's plaque is Fitchburg High School Athletic Hall of Famer, Ollie Borges-Wirtz, a member of the class of 2002 and our 10th Hall of Fame class from 2019.
First of all, stop crying over there. Glasses, I need those. Thank you, everyone. If you know me well, you know that I shy away from being up front at events like this and talking about myself. I prefer to work in the background, in the shadows, because that's where I'm comfortable. In my former career as a firefighter, I run into some fellow firefighters, brothers, and people, former students, people that I know in the area. And they look at me and say, "What are you doing now?" "No, I'm still at the high school." "You're still there? You're still at the high school? You're still working? Why?" So I decided to use my time here today to answer the why question, and more importantly, what inspires me. It all starts with my family. Specifically, my best friend and the love of my life, Renee. I told you, stop crying. Who unconditionally supports me, my long crazy hours, and my passions. When I met Renee 7 years ago, she said, and we talked about, moving in together. She says, "Well, I got 2 kids in high school. I'm not going without them." I said, "Yeah, we'll build an addition on the house. Big deal, no problem." So I welcomed a new daughter and a new son. Anthony and Alyssa, I love you guys. They brought with them today their significant others, Christina and Matt. I'm sure you had nothing to do today. Thank you all for coming and for supporting me. I also gained 2 great in-laws, Linda and Wayne. Thank you for being here with me today and spending your day with me. My stepson and High Point University graduate, Cameron, flew up from North Carolina. Cam's still at High Point, working with the baseball program in operations and recruiting. Cam, love you, buddy. Former students. There are so many to mention, I can't do it all. But in particular, Emily, who drove in from New York today, Jill, who drove from down the street. And not to be outdone, Harold Mateo, who just happened to name his son Alan. Harold, thank you. I understand he's a terror. There are many more who I could say and talk about, but I'd be here all day. But I keep in contact with all of them through social media, Facebook, the other stuff, not too good at. But I watch them grow, have kids of their own, and it's fun. It's amazing to watch. And then there's Oli. I met Oli in 1995, and her mom and family. She was in middle school at the time. My son came out of school one day and said, "Dad, I found the girl I'm going to marry." I said, "Oh, that's awesome." He says, "Can we give her a ride home?" I said, "Well, you're going to marry her. I suppose we should give her a ride home." That was the day that I met Oli. She's never left my side ever since. The relationship didn't go over too well. It ended after a while. But Oli stayed with me. We've been like daughter and father since 1995. She's blessed me with 2 grandchildren. Lily, my beautiful Lily, I love you. And Dylan. Hi, buddy. I'm proud to call that, or they call me Nano. Lily made me this beautiful bracelet that she brought with her. It says Nano on it. It's the best thing ever. Thank you. You all inspire me every day, and your love and support is a piece to that why puzzle, why I'm still here. In my bio, Sean writes about my involvement with the UMass Sports Medicine program. For the last 22 years, I've had the privilege and honor to work alongside and learn from 42 doctors, the absolute best sports medicine program in the country. They must be, because doctors from all over the country apply for now 3 coveted fellowship spots every year in the program. I've literally been in medical school for 22 years. An incredible, valuable experience. Our student athletes have medical coverage on par with major colleges and universities. Our team offers event coverage as well as sports medicine clinic every Monday morning. We evaluate the sports injuries, treat them, and get them back participating. Truly been an amazing benefit to the athletic program and to me personally. The first fellow that I had in the program was Dr. Lee Mancini, who's now the director of the UMass Sports Medicine program. Lee's not only my boss, he's my friend. And to talk about honors, Lee is here with 5 other doctors that took time out of their day to spend with me. Guys, stand up, please. Thank you, guys. Last but certainly not least, there's a raucous, crazy crowd in the corner over there. Guys, stand up. Everybody. Pittsburgh High School athletes, stand up, please. I want you to take a good look at that crew, because I guarantee you in there is a future Hall of Famer. You guys, more than anything else, are the reason that I'm still here. And I'm going to go off script for a second, because when Karen was up here, she mentioned that somebody referred to her as Special K. So this is really cool. Special K, come up here, please. MK, where are you?
MK had to leave.
She had to leave? Never mind then.
She had to work. Actually, at the water park. She's actually working.
She's in the water park. Wonderful. Well, we'll go for a slide later. But we have a young lady, as Sean alluded to earlier, that is closing in on some records that Special K has set, and we want to give her some inspiration. So we'll tell her all about this. She can watch it on the video from FATV. And final, I'd just like to say to you all, thank you very much for the honor. Thank you very much for the privilege of being here. So the secret is out now. I do this not for me, but I do this for all of you. Thank you. might sit down. We got to get out of here sometime today.
I was wondering who those guys in blue were. They dare wear blue here?
Aren't they intimidating?
Good Lord, what is your problem, guys?
Well, you see, funny story.
Oh, geez, here we go.
The UMass program, their color is Leominster blue. I know. I've tried to change it over the past 20-something years. They just won't change the damn color. We used to have a red jacket for football games that get passed down from fellow to fellow because they weren't allowed on the sideline with the Leominster blue on. So we bought a Red Raider red winter jacket, and it was passed down from fellow to fellow, which was good until one year we had, I can't remember which one it was, but we had a fellow that was, she was about 5'0" and weighed about 106 pounds soaking wet. She put the jacket on, the sleeves were hanging down, it was down to her ankles, it just didn't work anymore. Anyway, here we go with the teams. We've got 2 teams being honored and inducted today. The interesting part is that we've got 6 team members that were on both teams, so they're double placking it today. I offer for induction to the 12th class, the 1977-78 boys indoor track team.
We've said that we at FHS churn out amazing track stars as if on a cinder-coated assembly line. And that is immensely true when we talk about the 1977-78 indoor track team. The year prior, 1976-77, FHS Indoor won the Suburban League title, but we had lost out on the Class C state title to a great group from North Quincy. The next season, though, made all the difference. The Raiders had a mighty fine dual meet season, losing only once to an on-the-rise Leominster team, which would go on to win the Suburban. One of the many highlights, however, was a win over perennial powerhouse Doherty at Holy Cross. The Highlanders hadn't lost an indoor track dual meet in the last 71 meets, with our 1967-68 indoor track team the last to pull off that feat. The 1977-78 team did it in style, not only taking 6 of 10 first place wins, but the strategically taken second and third place finishes by our guys. Several days after the blizzard of '78 cleared out, FHS then dismantled Worcester South 64-22, sweeping a number of races. But the distinguishing mark of that event was Gary Cacaranta's switch-up. I pronounced his name right, Coach, right? Cacaranta? Caucaranta? Caucaranta. I'm gonna be saying that over and over for the next 2 years. Now, Gary usually set pace in the mile, but on this day, John Casey ran the mile and finished first. Gary raced the 2-mile the 2-mile event, and he broke the school record in the process. In the state Class C meet at Reading, the Raiders trailed North Quincy 30-22, with Scituate High in between them at 26.5, going into the final event of the meet, the mile relay. We needed a miracle, and it might not have even been enough. Even if Fitchburg won the event, all North Quincy had to do was finish 5th to capture a share of the title. Fourth or better, it was North Quincy's outright. As it happened, there was a massive collision in this race between runners from North Quincy and Scituate. And as their runners crumpled to the track, FHS took off. North Quincy did not finish 5th. Scituate didn't do enough either. The Class C state title belonged to our very own Fitchburg High Red Raiders. Introducing the members of the 1977-1978 boys indoor track team who are in attendance today. Peter Bergeron, Paul Poco Bolduc, Steve Boudreau, John Casey, Mark Clark, Dave Dean, Richard Ellis, Bill Govin, Keith Gelinas, Gary Calcaranta, I hope I said it right this time. Thank you. Mark Morey, Jimmy Pappas, Les Ricks, Michael Tarr, and James Vanderbilt.
Gentlemen, come up and get your plaques. Again, I apologize for the constraint in space. The good thing is, this is the largest event we have ever had. By far, the largest event we've ever had. We've got them shoehorned in here. The bad part is we have no room to do anything. It's a good thing. Last but certainly not least, and let me, before I introduce the 76 team and Chris Woods, I want to thank you all for coming today. You guys collectively make this event happen. We can do the nominations, we can hold the event. Without you folks showing up to honor these inductees, we don't have an event. So applause to you. Thank you all very much for coming and supporting Fitchburg High School athletics. So for the 1976 track team, we're going to bring up Coach Chris Woods, who's going to talk about the track team when Sean is done.
Now, we've said that success breeds success, and that's true. In the 1970s, the continuing success of our track program in the years after Erkki Kuutonen retired went on thanks to his hand-picked successor in Ed Gastingay and that of Bob Paul. And our track success in the 70s led to the committee bringing forth not one, but 2 track squads to the second floor this year, with a number of the runners on the team we just inducted having been sophomores 2 years prior. The 1976 Fitchburg High outdoor track team had a number of successful individual athletes that had competed on the last 2 indoor track teams, 2 teams that won with regularity. Added together, 1976 simply put on a show, trouncing the competition. In fact, FHS only scored less than 90 points in a dual meet once this season, and that was to air. Of course, the Panthers had a guy on its squad who went on to have a pretty darn good career in the NFL, so I think that had something to do with it. To learn more about this phenomenal squad, we welcome to the dais one of its greatest members, a senior at the time and a multi-talented, multi-time member of the Hall of Fame as a coach, the one and only Chris Woods.
Thanks so much for giving me a couple of minutes to talk here. I want to thank everyone for being patient and enjoying the stories that have been told by so many great athletes. So now it's my turn to tell a story. Track and field at FHS in the 70s produced many great athletes and teams. As a 9th grader at Memorial Junior High School, I, along with my good friend Mike Gallo, God bless him, would walk down to Crocker Field to practice. Once there, we had the opportunity to train with the high school, or at least share the track. We were in awe of the FHS track team members, and we looked forward to someday being at the high school ourselves. In 1973, 74, we had our chance. We had tremendous leadership that year from the class of 74. Senior athletes like Larry Bizzotto, Sean Keenan, Jim O'Neill, and Marvin Washington were incredible competitors, and we wanted to be just like them. We also had tremendous coaches. Erkki Kuutonen, a former Olympian, and as I've already seen in another article, a true giant of a man. Coached the field events. And Ed Gastingay, pretty good half-miler in his days at Notre Dame High School, coached the runners. We couldn't have been more fortunate. We also had, over the next 3 years, we learned how to win. In 1974-75, Robert Paul took over the indoor track team. Coach Paul brought passion for the sport to a whole new level. He wanted nothing but the best for us, and it showed. And as I heard tonight, over the next 4 indoor seasons, Fitchburg High captured back-to-back Central Suburban Division I Invitational Championships. In our case, each time defeating St. John's, the perennial power in track and field at Central Mass. Coach Paul would later take over as assistant track coach upon Erkki Kuuttinen's retirement in 1974. In the spring of 1976, we had the best of both worlds. Ed coached cross-country in the fall and outdoors in the spring, while Bob coached football, indoor, and outdoor track. Between the two of them, they drew athletes from multiple sports. It was a perfect match. We knew going in that we would have a special team, and the results spoke for themselves. We went undefeated and captured 4 major championships, culminating in the District 3 Class A championship at Grafton. Along the way, we had the unique privilege of defeating St. John's 5 times. Pretty sweet, I have to say. We had 15 seniors on that team: John Bergeron, Dave Clark, Steve Dicker, Dan Giacomosi, Dave Loophole, Mark Panagiotis, Garnett Ricks, Doug Romano, James Tim Seacard, Mike Skirvin, Mark Tarbell, and Chris Woods. We were led by our 3 senior captains, Mike Gallo, Louis Pappas, and Marcus Valera. We also had some very solid underclassmen, names like Peter Bergeron, Joe Blackwelder, Gary Cocaranta, Tony Mattia, Les Ricks, Harry Williams Jr., and Brian Zangi were among our top point scorers. Track is literally a sport made for athletes who can run, jump, and throw, and we did that very well. All this being said, I have no doubt we were one of the most formidable track teams in FHS history. I would like to end by stating on behalf of the team that we'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for our induction and to congratulate all others that have been inducted today. It is truly an incredible honor to be a Red Raider, and we will always be humbled and truly grateful. Thank you.
Members of the 76 track team, please come up for your plaques.
John Bergeron, Peter Bergeron, Dean Bay, John Casey, the late Dave Clark, with his daughters Caitlin and Courtney receiving his plaque, Dave Dean, Coach Ed Gastingay, Dan Giacomosi, Gary Calcaranta, Kevin Ledger, Tony Mattia, Louis Pappas, Garnett Ricks, Les Ricks, the immortal Doug Romano, Marcus Valera, James Vanderbilt, Harrison Williams Jr., and Chris Woods.
Good job, Coach. Again, on behalf of the committee, Fitchburg High School Athletics, we thank you for coming today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much.